Those of you who don't know me then, I am Pandit, and I organize the Little Bangkok Sangha, which is the proper name, but the usual name we know by is Little Bang, which is the blog. And I think most of you come here through the blog today. Actually, not many people today. Usually, this is the 7th workshop that we've actually done, and I think we've always had over 35 people, so this time I think, having come from a series of Dhamma talks, and then on Tuesday we have a big event, so I think people are holding back for the big event, maybe on Tuesday. If you don't know, Tuesday we have Ajahn Jayasaro, who is a very big and well-known figure in Buddhism, and this should be a very big event. Website's been going crazy with people coming and looking it up. 200 people there, probably more. So today's topic is the quail and the hawk. So today's topic is the quail and the hawk. And so what we'll do is have a little bit of the theory and focus mostly on the actual practice. So at the very least, this is a very nice way to come together and just be quiet and do some meditation in a group environment. And that's why I'm actually doing it, because I like that. If I go back to my temple, I have all these emails and website and books, and I'm supposed to start my university thesis. A big pile of work there, so that's why I like to come out and do these workshops, because I get chance also just to sit and be quiet. And that's really nice, that's a really beautiful thing. Even if the mind isn't quiet, at least you're willing to let it be quiet. Even if your attention doesn't get concentrated, at least you're making it important to yourself, reminding yourself about this aspect of meditation or awareness, reminding yourself that there is something other than the usual work and relationships and aging and health and all the other problems that we have to put up with. There's another facet to existence, and this other facet is what we are concentrating on, and what I'll be talking a little bit about today. So while everybody's fresh and lively, maybe we can do some sitting meditation to start with, just to help to calm the mind down and get established. You're welcome to use some of these other mats if you want to prop them up behind you a little bit. Please don't fold them, which we do with other mats, because they don't unfold very well. But you're welcome to do that. And you're welcome through the day to switch and change to using the chairs if your body is not accustomed to sitting posture. You're tying yourself in a knot there. Has anybody here not done meditation before? Everybody's done some meditation before? Some. Okay, you've done some meditation before? Okay. Good. So you're all experts. I'm not sure you ever become an expert, actually. Okay, so settle into your meditation posture. and gently close your eyes. The first foundation of meditation, what we call the satipatthana, is focusing on the body. And we use the body as the basis, as the anchor point to keep you present, keep you here and now. So try lifting your eyes upwards slightly, as if you were looking at something in front of you that's slightly higher than you are. Keep the eyes pointed upwards just slightly, not rolling back in the head. And bring your attention backwards from the level of the eyes into the body. As you feel the body from the inside, you follow the breathing down, down through the center of the body. You may notice that the sensation of breathing, if you can catch it and stay with it, actually goes right the way down, just in front of the spine, all the way down to the bottom, to where you're sitting on the mat. You may know logically that the breathing goes down the bronchial tubes, splits sideways into the two lungs, and stops at the chest. You may also know that the diaphragm, the stomach, is the muscles. And this is where we power the breathing. The contraction and expansion of the lungs are powered from the diaphragm, even though your lungs are not down there. But with meditation, we don't really care so much about the science of the organs. We care about the internal direct experience. And the experience of the breathing is, it goes straight down the center of the body, right the way down to the seat that you're sitting on. So we want to bring the attention downwards into this prana, or this breath. Be sure that with the in-breath your diaphragm expands, and with the out-breath the diaphragm contracts. This is yogic breathing. If you play sports, then it's the opposite way. When you breathe in, your diaphragm contracts, but your chest expands. And when you breathe out, your chest contracts. But for yogic breathing, you always breathe from the stomach. The stomach moves out, you breathe in. As the stomach contracts, then you breathe out. Feel the breathing from the inside of the body. If the mind gets lost or the attention wanders, come back to the level of the eyes. Lift the eyes upwards slightly. Bring your attention backwards into your head, and then sink it down into the body. From the inside of the body you can feel the breathing passing through the center of the body. Or else, if that's a little difficult to get hold of, feeling from the inside, you put your attention onto the rising and the falling of the abdomen. You may find it helpful to focus your attention to say, rising as the stomach expands, falling as the stomach contracts. It's not necessary to use the words, but you can judge for yourself if your attention is sharp or weak. Just bring your attention to the rising and the falling of the stomach, or else the feeling of the breathing as it passes through the center of the body. When the mind wanders away, you bring it back. When you realize you've got lost in some kind of thought, be willing to let go of that thinking. It may be an important thought. It may be something that's very relevant to your life. But right here and now we're practicing the letting go. And letting go is just one thing at a time. This thought, this sound, this feeling, whatever it is that catches your attention. When you realize that your attention has been lost, you make a very gentle note, thinking, and you come back to the feeling of presence and awareness in the body. If it's a sound that attracts your attention, when you realize you're getting caught in it, you make a note, hearing, and bring your attention back to present moment awareness in the body. You may have feelings arise within the back or the legs. You may feel that the feeling is always there, but in fact, it comes in and out of attention. As it comes into your attention, it starts to call for more attention, call for your thinking about it. So you make a note of how the feelings in the body are actually rising and ceasing according to where your attention goes. All the time, noting carefully, feeling, and coming back to the sense of awareness. You may feel these 6 senses, the body, the eyes, the nose, the ear, the tongue, and the thinking. Each of them is calling for your attention. Each of them is trying to distract your consciousness away. Although there are many kinds of meditation, ultimately, to get to the unconditioned, to get to the Buddha nature, to get past this whole maelstrom, you have to hold the mind still and not allow it to get lost or caught along the line of the 6 senses. So keep bringing your mind back to the sensation of breathing, and we'll sit together for about 25 minutes. Keep on bringing your mind back to the present moment. And if the mind gets lost a little, it's very helpful to stop and take stock. What's the general state of my mind right now? Is it dull, sleepy, busy? Is there a particular line of thinking that's really absorbing my attention? Do I feel happy? Do I feel restless? Do I feel patient or impatient? And as you take stock of the mind, you remember that all states of mind are temporary. However you feel, it's going to pass pretty quickly. Often even by the end of the meditation, the state of mind will have gone already. Sleepiness can disappear in an instant. Confusion can vanish. The mind can suddenly go very calm and still. Underneath or behind all states of mind is this continual presence, this awareness. The feeling of I am. And gently relax your focus. Open your eyes. Adjust your sitting position. And meditation should be the easiest thing you can do. Because you don't have to do anything. Right? So why is it not that easy? This is because of the habit of the mind. Your mind doesn't like to have an easy time. Your mind likes to have a comfortable time. Likes to be in its usual habits, its habitual action. So it doesn't need to be aware, it doesn't need to think. And this is what actually we call moha or delusion in Buddhism. And there are three main kinds of people in the world. People who focus on what they want. These are lopa people, or in Thai is lop. And if you are always putting your mind onto things that you like, thinking about what nice food you're going to get, or what what nice people you're going to go and talk with. It's funny, different countries have different ideas of what they like. And in Thailand it's usually food, but in Singapore it's usually money. This is what the people are thinking about. If you focus on what you like, then this is a lopa-based character. And this is actually a personality theory, the Buddha's personality theory. It's a way to describe your character. It's not ultimate realities. And sometimes you're one type and sometimes you're another type. It's not the only way of looking at your personality. There are different ways of looking at personality too. It's a model. And what a model does is it predicts and it explains. So there are all kinds of different models. The Freudian model of consciousness is a very useful and valuable model, but it's not one that we use in Buddhism. Cognitive behavioral therapy, modern psychology, has another model. And that's also useful. It has similarities to Buddhism. There are all kinds of different models that you can use, and one of these models is this idea of what you focus your attention on. And some people focus on what they like. And if you like to think about what you like, then you're a lopa-based person. And lopa, or greed, and greed doesn't have to be negative. It can be, you want to pass your exams, you want to look after your wife or your husband, You want to do all kinds of good things too, so it's not always bad. Lopa is supposed to be slow to arise, but very hard to disappear, to diminish. Which is interesting. You think greed would be very quick to arise, but when you think about it, you have to really think about something before you start desiring it. Even if you see something really desirable, whatever it is that you desire, beautiful man, a beautiful woman, beautiful car, new iPad, really actually you have to start thinking about it to get it into your mind. You have to concentrate on it. So lopa is said to be slow to arise, but once it's arisen, it's very hard to get rid of. Once something lodges in your brain that you really want, it's very hard to let it go. Dosa, the hate type, and these are people who focus on things that you dislike. And I'm a hate type. I focus on what I dislike. Whenever I go somewhere, I think this isn't right, and that's not good enough, and that person really should be more like this. And I actually invented a complete new transport system for Bangkok because I don't like the traffic jams. And so a dosa style of mind, this is problem solving. And when we say a hate-based personality, it doesn't really mean that you're hating or that you're evil. It means that you're focusing on what you dislike. And that's how you solve problems. You know, as a society, different societies have this, you know, facet. American society, I think it focuses on what's wrong and it tries to fix it. And the whole education system is about problem solving and researching and fixing things. Hate is, or dosa, is supposed to be very quick to arise. Very slow to arise, but very quick to disappear. And you can see this with Thai people. They're very gentle and kind and lovely people. And it's very difficult to get them angry. But when the anger does arise, it's quite quick to get rid of. Actually, anger can disappear quite quickly, unlike greed. Last kind is moha, and the moha is translated as delusion. And these are people who like to focus their attention onto something neutral. They don't like it, you don't dislike it, just anything to put your attention onto. Daydreaming, television, conversations with friends for hours and hours. Anything, just something to absorb your attention. It's not that you really like it or you really dislike it. Television is actually the best example. And what happens when you focus your attention onto something like this is you don't have to be aware of yourself. You don't have to think about yourself at all. You just turn the attention off and let the mind go bobbing along from one thing to another thing. And curiously, human beings like this. We like to not be aware of ourselves. I wonder why that is. Moha, by the way, is supposed to be quick to arise and slow to disappear. So it's the worst of the three, or the most blameworthy of the three. Greed is the least blameworthy. If you practice the holy life and you're a greed person, you generate a lot of faith and you become someone with a lot of surrender, vosaga. If you have a lot of, if you're a dosa-based person, you focus on what you dislike. If you practice the holy life, you become someone who is very wise, very sharp wisdom. And if you're a moha-based person, you know, I don't know what you become. The word they use is discursive. You become discursive. And I'm not quite sure what that means. But if you take the Pali Vitakka, it means like focused thought. So it becomes someone who can focus their mind onto something. Anyway, these are the, it's in the Visuddhimagga, this thing. It's not to be taken too seriously. They're just general ideas and guidelines. The general principle behind it is you like stimulation. You like something to occupy your attention. The more your attention gets occupied with something that doesn't even require your interaction or too much, the happier you are. Human beings like to drift towards the unconscious. It's like the cats in my temple, you know. They struggle up to go over and find something to eat and then collapse again. They like to be unconscious, and human beings are like that. The more conscious you are, the more aware of yourself you are, the more, very often, the more agitated you feel. If it's excitement, then it will still draw your attention in. So if you're getting excited about something, then this will also suck your attention in, but with a little bit more awareness and consciousness. Then you might notice that dukkha, or suffering, has the quality of snapping you out of your delusions, your stories. Dukkha, or suffering, has the quality of making you more attentive, more sharp, more present. It's one of the reasons why we don't like it. It's also one of the reasons why the more attentive you become, the more you become aware of your own dukkha, or your own suffering. So we want to, in meditation, we want to go against this strain of continually latching onto something nice that we can think about or do. And these are what modern psychology calls vector arcs, which is the way that you measure time. And that is, if you're doing something new, you have to really think about what you're doing and keep paying attention. If you're learning to drive, you have to pay attention to the clutch, and then the gears, how they work, and then the indicator, and then the mirror, and then you've got to look behind you, and it gets really complicated just to drive a car. Pay attention to each of these things, but once you've learnt it, you just forget about it all, and you just point your body in the direction and say, right, go to work. And it just goes by itself. What this means is that when you're learning, you're paying more attention. You've got more mindfulness, more awareness. But as human beings, you like to get into habits. And your habits mean that you don't have to pay very much attention. You get in the car and drive to work, and you only need to pay 2 bits of attention. Get into the car and, oh, I'm here already. Okay. Preparing your lunch can sometimes be the same thing. You decide what you do, and then you're just off in thought while the body goes along and prepares your food. As human beings, you like to get into habits. And when you're in a habitual action, you don't need to think very much. You don't need to be very aware. And what we're doing in meditation is going against this this leaning of the mind, this way that the mind loves to lean into something habitual and something easy, and bring it back to awareness. This is why the more meditation you do, the more alive you feel, the more present you feel, and the happier you feel. And people from the outside will look at meditators and say, you know, you're just sitting there thinking about bunny rabbits and gardens and things like this, and you're not contributing anything. And you know, we talk about restraining the mind from the senses, from the sense desires and sense pleasures, and then people from the outside, they say, you can't, you know, your life will be so boring, you don't have anything nice to, you know, you can't eat nice foods or do nice things. Of course you can, you still have fun, still have pleasure. The point is that you're being willing to make the mind sharper and sharper and more attentive, and not get lost or caught up in the regular activities of the mind. So this is what we're doing with meditation. You don't want to apply this teaching on a life basis. I'm never going to let my mind go out to any kind of taste sense, food basically. Never going to let my mind get caught up with any kind of food again. You couldn't do it. It's impossible. I'm not going to let my mind ever get caught up in any sound again. No more music for me. No more pleasant sounds. You couldn't do it. I mean, if you tried. But in meditation, you can feel it in the present moment. You can feel the mind going out to a sound. While we're doing the meditation, did you get distracted by Tom packing up his things here? Not really? Thais have a great ability to ignore sound, actually. And Westerners have big problems ignoring sound. And Thais are often very happy in a room full of people or a house full of people. Noise going on outside on the streets, normal. But Westerners, we get caught with the sound. Some sound arises and it gets your attention, you get annoyed and you want to stop the sound. Example, in my temple we had I live in a concrete building, surrounded by concrete buildings. And if there's anything happens at the bottom, it goes echoing up the buildings and then bounces off all the other buildings and concentrates itself and channels itself through my window into my room. So any noise that's down there kind of comes straight into my room. Unfortunately, there's not too much noise. The monk down there, he likes cats, he doesn't like dogs. And the cats are usually quiet. But one monk, he decided to get a chicken. And why, I don't know. I don't know what I think. And this chicken would screech in the morning at 4 a.m. And this is when I get up in the morning. It's nice, it's quiet, it's cool. And I do my meditation. And then this chicken would come up and disturb me. And I even went down a few times to throttle it, but I restrained myself. Actually, eventually I did hear it one time. It was in the morning and it was screeching. In Thai, the sound a chicken makes in Thai? It goes ekati ek ek. And but in English it doesn't do that. In English it goes cock-a-doodle-doo. So this chicken was going ekati ek ek or cock-a-doodle-doo one morning, screeching its lungs out. And it went ekati ek ek. And I never heard it again. So I think somebody else also didn't like it. Somehow Thais have an ability to ignore sound. And if the chickens are crowing and things, in my original temple, the monks used to feed them. Used to feed the chickens and encourage them to come and live there. And which I can't understand. And then in the Patimokkha, when all the monks go for this chanting once a fortnight, all the monks have to go to this particular 2-hour-long ceremony for the chanting. And one day I missed it. And you can't turn up late. If you turn up late, the monk who's doing the chanting has to stop and go all the way back to the beginning again. So you really, if you want to be popular in your temple, you don't turn up late. If you're late, you just don't turn up. And this one time I was late, and I was rushing along to see if I'd make it before the beginning of it. And I took a shortcut through the bushes, and then there's all these laymen there. And as they saw me coming through, they all went like this. And what they do is they wait for all the monks to go chanting, and then they come and kill the chickens, take them home for lunch. And this is in the temple grounds. How did I get onto chickens? Okay, so your mind goes out to a particular sound. And what we do in meditation is you see the mind lunging out towards something that you can hear going on around you, going off to a particular kind of thought. going on to a feeling in the body. Usually meditation, you're not too caught up in smell or taste sense. So you can feel the mind being tugged in this direction and that. And this was the preliminary teaching on meditation. It's called guarding of the sense doors. And it leads into the Satipatthana, or the four foundations of mindfulness. So today we'll focus on the four foundations of mindfulness. But this guarding of the sense doors is the base practice. This was the first meditation practice the Buddha would always give. When you feel the mind getting caught up with some kind of something that you can see, you hold your attention back. You don't get caught in the signs and features of that object, by which unwholesome states may invade the mind. So I'm paraphrasing the actual sutta. And these are actually the very earliest teachings of all different Buddhist teachings that we have, and Mahayana and Vajrayana and etc. We can follow the language back to find out the actual original teachings, and this was it. This was the original meditation teaching that we can, so far as we can tell. So when you see something with the eye that's entrancing, that you like or you dislike, you don't get caught in the liking and the disliking of it. You don't get caught in the signs and features. I like that. This could be nicer. This, I like that. The colors, the person, the whatever it is. You keep your attention with yourself. When the ear gets caught up with entrancing sounds, you don't get caught up with that, liking and disliking it. You don't dwell on the signs and features of that sound. When the tongue gets caught with the idea of flavors and things that it wants to eat, you hold yourself in restraint and you don't get caught in that. When the body has feelings, painful or pleasant feelings, you hold the mind in restraint. You know you don't get caught in the liking and the disliking of the feelings in the body. So if you imagine it as each of the senses, then, including thinking is another one of the senses, trying to pull your attention away. And your job as a meditator then is to keep yourself present. And every time you get pulled away, your attention is pulled away, you bring it back. Okay. So that's the basic way that we do meditation. I thought what we'd do actually now is do some 10:30. We do some walking meditation, just to change the body posture. Now, the walking meditation is the same system. All of these things are exercises. They're not the real thing. That is, when you're doing meditation and you're following the rising and falling of the stomach, that isn't the real thing. It's an exercise. It's an exercise of your attention. See when your attention slipped away. See when your attention comes back. Maybe helpful, actually. I found this helpful for a number of years. When your attention comes back and you remember yourself, that what you're supposed to be doing, that you're meditating, you might say, I'm back, or home, or have some word or phrase that makes sense to you. So like, oh, okay, this is mindful. And a few minutes ago, it wasn't mindfulness. This helps to distinguish then what is wakefulness and awareness. And remember, while I'm talking about restraining the senses, you do this while you're meditating. It's not a life philosophy that for the rest of your life you're never going to enjoy another sound again. Of course, if you go home and you want to put on some music, then, do so, enjoy it. This is a meditation exercise. We do the same thing with walking. Helps to slow the walking down. The more you slow the walking down, the more you slow the mind down. the more you slow the mind down, the easier it is to see. And seeing and observing is the basis of what we're doing. This is what we want to do. See and observe the nature of the body and the mind. According to the Buddhist idea, if you can see and know things as they really are, you're enlightened. That's it. You've done it. But seeing and knowing things as they really are, which I'm going to talk about more this afternoon, is really quite difficult. So we slow the mind down so it's easier to see, it's easier to observe when you slow the mind down. So we'll pick, probably stay in this room. There's a couple of spaces behind here also, on either side, which are not so air conditioned, so if you want the warmer space, it's behind here. And you walk from one point to another point. You pick about anything between 5 to 8 meters, something like that. 10 steps, 15 steps maximum. You start off from the beginning of the walking meditation path and you set your mind, I'm going to be aware and present for 15 steps, 10 steps. And then I find it helpful to lift the eyes upwards slightly. You may actually find it helpful to lower the eyes. Again, it's not like you have to do it one way or the other. The quality you're developing is awareness, not physical exercise with the eyes or the feet. So I find it very useful to lift the eyes just upwards slightly to bring your attention backwards into your body. If you have a lot of thinking or your mind's really busy or distracted, it's sometimes helpful to lower the eyes down. This is a bit more restful. So as you walk then, you bring your attention back into the body. From the inside of the body, you move sink the consciousness right the way down into the feet. Okay. Now the foot that's stationary is more obvious, easier to feel. If, by the way, you've done the regular Mahasi Sayadaw practice of left goes thus, right goes thus, or lifting, moving, placing, carry on and do the system that you're used to. If you don't have your own particular walking meditation system, or you want to try the way that I do it, then you bring your attention backwards into the body, sink your attention downwards into the feet, and you focus on the stationary foot, and you can feel it from the inside, right the way through the center of the body. And then you take a step, and then once the foot starts to lift up, you move your attention to the other stationary foot. You take a step, and then once your foot is firmly planted on the ground, you shift your attention back onto the foot that's stationary on the ground. Now some people really like the walking meditation. Some people do nothing but. Some people really like sitting meditation. Some people really like the walking meditation today, but tomorrow they hate it. And some people like the sitting meditation tomorrow, but today they hate it. So it's worth developing all of these different postures and methods, whether you like them or not, whether it's really clicking for you or whether it isn't clicking for you. You want to put aside the liking and the disliking and bring the attention back into the present moment to see what's actually there. Now the walking is the same as the sitting. As you walk, you'll find that the attention wanders away. And when you catch the attention having wandered away, you bring it back. If you can really root the attention into the inside of the body, it starts to get very blissful. And you get this blissful sensation coming up from either the center of the foot or the side of the toe, coming right the way up into the back. And you get a breath that comes right the way down. And it can get very, very blissful, actually, if you really can concentrate. Any questions about the walking meditation? Remember, it is an exercise, so you're continually bringing your mind back to a rather simplistic exercise. But eventually what you find is that mindfulness just arises by itself. Or you just think about the feet and snaps your attention back into your body, and your mind suddenly becomes very, very bright and very alert and very aware. But you have to do the exercises first. Many people want the results of meditation first. I want to feel blissful and happy, and I want special states of mind. Then, if I get that, then I'll do the meditation. It doesn't work that way. You have to do the exercises and do the work and the meditation first. And then things start to become clearer and sharper afterwards as a result of the work that you've done. And then when everything does snap into place and it gets very, very beautiful, your ego comes up, now I'm doing it. I've figured it out. And again, that's just your ego claiming it's in charge of everything. Actually, the reason the mind has gone like that is because of the work you've done in the past. So find yourself a spot, 10 paces or so. At the end of the walk, you stop, and you do this taking stock of what is my frame of mind. Is it dull? Is it contracted? Is it expanded? Is it blissful? Is it painful? Is it agitated? Is it impatient? Is it patient? You take stock at the end of the walk. Once you've taken stock, you shake yourself down a little bit, set your attention again, turn slowly to the right. You always turn clockwise to your right. You must never ever turn left when you come to the end of this walking path. There's a very good reason for this, I'm sure, but nobody's ever been able to tell me what it is. So, in the absence of, unless you have a particular need to turn to the left, then turn to the right. You'll take it on trust that there's some difference. You turn to your right, you re-establish your mindfulness, and then you walk for the path again. This taking stock or taking note at the end of the walk is very, very important, and it's a very, very good habit to get into. Because so much of the time in your life, you're not really aware of what you're feeling. You're talking to somebody and you're reacting because you don't like what they're saying or something. And then if you've done the meditation, suddenly this thought comes up to you. You take stock and you think, I'm impatient. And then that helps you, then you can act with patience. So taking stock of the mind's state in general is very important. Citta Nupassana, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Okay, so we'll do the walking meditation until 10 past 11.